We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. US Senate inching towards a vote on Donald Trump's spending bill. Many Republicans remain divided over the proposal, which would deliver key parts of Trump's domestic agenda while making massive cuts to social welfare programs. In Serbia, thousands of protesters continue to block major roads in Belgrade and other cities, demanding end to President Aleksandar Vucic's 12-year rule and snap elections. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra begins today after a gap of 5 years. Lord Shiva devotees will pass through Lipu Lake in Uttarakhand and Nathula Pass in Sikkim. Wildfire risks as climate change fuels extreme heat wave in southern Europe. Italy, Greece, Spain and Portugal remain most affected. Most of France placed under heat wave alert. And in sports, third and oldest Grand Slam of the year, Wimbledon begins on Monday. Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic headline men's lineup. Sabalenka, Rybakina and Goff head women's lineup. And on to the details now. U.S. lawmakers are debating President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill on the Senate floor as part of a marathon process. The U.S. Senate narrowly advanced President Donald Trump's sweeping tax cut and spending bill on Saturday during a weekend session marked by political drama, division and lengthy delays as Democrats sought to slow the legislation's path to passage. Lawmakers voted 51 to 49 to open debate on the 940-page mega bill, with two of Trump's fellow Republicans joining Democrats to oppose the legislation. Trump is heaping pressure on Congress to pass the sweeping tax cuts and spending package in time for him to sign it on July 4th. That would fund the president's top immigration, border, tax cut and military priorities. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump said in an interview broadcast on Sunday that he had found a buyer for TikTok short video app, which he described as a group of very wealthy people whose identities he will reveal in about 2 weeks. He said the deal he's developing would probably need China's approval to move forward, and he predicted Chinese President Xi Jinping would likely approve it. The U.S. president earlier this month had extended to September 17 the deadline for China-based ByteDance to divest the U.S. assets of TikTok, despite a law that mandated a sale or shutdown without significant progress.
No big deal. We have a buyer for TikTok, by the way. I think I'll need probably China approval, and I think President Xi will probably do it.
Well, the 12-day-long Israel-Iran conflict ended with a ceasefire after Trump claimed to have obliterated Iran's nuclear program. But now the UN nuclear watchdog chief has raised eyebrows with a striking claim that Iran could possibly resume production of weapon-enriched uranium within months. Iran, meanwhile, has voiced serious doubts over Israel's commitment to the truce. Our next report by DT India's Mihir Maikuri has the details.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Just days after Trump's explosive announcement on Iran, the head of the UN's nuclear watchdog has detonated another political shockwave. Rafael Grossi said Iran could be capable of producing enriched uranium within months, reigniting fears of a nuclear flashpoint.
Iran had a very vast, ambitious program, and part of it may still be there. And if not, there is also the self-evident truth that the knowledge is there, the industrial capacity is there. Iran is a very sophisticated country in terms of nuclear technology, as is obvious. So you cannot disinvent this.
This comes on the heels of a dramatic escalation in June. Israeli strikes targeting Iranian nuke and military sites followed by a US military intervention and a truce. Grossi is now advocating diplomacy over destruction.
Military operations or not, you are not going to solve this in a definitive way militarily. You are going to have an agreement. You are going to have an inspection system that will give everybody in the region and elsewhere the assurances that we can definitely turn the page.
As Iran mourns, it laid to rest top military and nuclear figures killed in the war with Israel. But the nation's pain deepened further with Iran confirming at least 71 deaths in an Israeli strike on Tehran's notorious Evin prison on June 23, many believed to be political detainees. Meanwhile, the fragile truce brokered by Trump is already showing cracks. Iran's top military commander has publicly voiced skepticism, saying Tehran doubts Israel's commitment to the ceasefire, casting long shadows over the agreement's longevity. In Israel, German Interior Minister visited the site of a deadly Iranian missile strike in Bat Yam that killed 9 civilians. There, he delivered a blunt message. If Iran possessed nuclear arms, they would not hesitate to use them.
We can see here how real the threat is. We see here that war is being waged on the civilian population. There are no military targets here. It is a terror attack on the civilian population. And when you see the damage that is caused by a rocket attack from Iran, then there is no doubt that would Iran have the nuclear possibility, they would use it against Israel.
With weapons, words, and wounds shaping the region's future, the question is no longer if the world can disarm Iran, but how to defuse a crisis before it explodes further. Mihir Makuri for DD India.
And moving on, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday that Israel's 12-day war with Iran, ending June 24th, opened opportunities to free 50 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza since October 7, 2023. A Jerusalem court delayed his corruption trial testimony, citing diplomatic reasons, fueling speculation of progress in Gaza talks. Israeli military chief Eyal Zamir suggested that Iran conflict could advance objectives against Hamas. Also, Netanyahu prioritized hostage release as per the Hostages and Missing Families Forum. U.S. proposed ceasefire talks continue. However, Hamas demands a full Israeli withdrawal while Israel insists on dismantling Hamas. Also, Israel's Netanyahu on Sunday spoke to Israel's Shin Bet intelligence service alongside its new temporary head following Ronenbar's June 15th resignation amid government efforts to remove him. Netanyahu hailed the elimination of 2 deadly threats to Israel's survival, referring to the recent 12-day war with Iran.
I want to inform you that many opportunities have now opened up, as you surely know, following this victory. First and foremost, to rescue the hostages. Of course, we will also need to resolve the issue of Gaza to defeat Hamas, but I believe we will achieve both missions. Beyond that, broad regional opportunities are opening up, in most of which, almost all, you are partners.
Well, the Jerusalem District Court cancelled Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial hearings this week, accepting his request citing classified diplomatic and security grounds. The decision followed U.S. President Donald Trump's social media post suggesting the trial could hinder Netanyahu's negotiations with Hamas and Iran. Netanyahu, indicted in 2019 for bribery, fraud and breach of trust, denies the charges, calling them a left-wing witch hunt. Trump claimed a Gaza ceasefire is near, though details remain unclear. The ruling aligns with heightened efforts to resolve the Gaza conflict post-Iran war. And U.S. President Donald Trump criticized Israeli prosecutors over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial, calling it insanity that hampers talks with Hamas and Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump lashed out at prosecutors in Israel, saying Washington, having given billions of dollars worth of aid to Israel, was not going to stand for this. Netanyahu retweeted Trump's Truth Social post thanking him. Trump claimed a Gaza ceasefire is near, though details are scarce amid heightened focus post-US-Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Well, also, Israel has ordered Palestinians to evacuate from parts of northern Gaza ahead of increased military action as U.S. President Donald Trump pushes for a ceasefire deal. People in neighborhoods across Gaza City and Jabalia have been told to move south towards the coastal area of Al-Mawasi as Israeli military operations intensify and expand westwards. Trump has reiterated calls to make the deal in Gaza and get the hostages back. On Saturday, Trump had said on Truth Social that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was in the process of negotiating a deal with Hamas right now. Meanwhile, the Israel Defense Forces spokesman Avichai Adrai said on Sunday that the Israeli military was operating in North Gaza to eliminate terrorists and terrorist infrastructure. Also, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has signed a decree on the country's withdrawal from the Ottawa Convention on Sunday, which bans the production and use of anti-personnel mines, a presidential website. In a video message, Zelensky emphasized that Russia was never a member of the convention, not even during its conflict with Ukraine. A senior Ukrainian lawmaker said that parliamentary approval is still needed to withdraw from the treaty. Ukraine ratified the convention in the year 2005. A Russian culture minister, Olga Lyubimova, arrived in North Korea on Saturday with a 125-strong delegation of performers. A video released by North Korean state media KCNA showed Lyubimova getting off a plane at the Pyongyang International Airport as North Korean officials, including North Korean culture minister Sung Jong-gyu and the Russian ambassador to North Korea, Alexander Matsugora, greeted her. Lyubimova stated that a series of concerts and lectures would take place in the North Korean capital in the coming days. She praised cultural cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang for achieving unprecedented heights. The visit, invited by North Korea's Ministry of Culture, marks the first anniversary of the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty between Russia and North Korea. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Bolsonaro rallies support in Sao Paulo as coup trial nears final stage in Brazil's Supreme Court. Voters turned out at polling stations in Chile to choose Boric's successor ahead of November election. And France bans smoking in parks, beaches and near schools to protect children and create the country's first non-smoking generation.
Sikkim is not a destination, it's a journey. Into spirituality, into untouched nature, into abundance. A lesson in compassion, perseverance, harmony, organic living. A fine example of respecting tradition. While embracing modernity. Welcome to a small state with big treasures.
Welcome back. You're watching TT India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro drew hundreds on Sunday to Sao Paulo's main avenue in a rally to drum up support ahead of a judicial case pending in the Supreme Court for coup judges. A trial over his involvement in an alleged coup plot to secure the presidency in the 2022 elections is reaching its final stages in the Supreme Court. According to Brazilian media, testimonies and defendants have already declared, and it will now be the turn for the prosecutor's office to present its final allegations. During his speech, Bolsonaro mentioned his trip to the US in December 2022 to dodge President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's inauguration on January 1, 2023 in Brasilia. The riots took place on January 8 at the same location. Well, thousands of protesters blocked major roads in Belgrade and other Serbian cities as demonstrations calling for snap elections continued into a second night following Saturday's huge rally in the capital. On Saturday, over 1 lakh people rallied in central Belgrade, the latest gathering in over half a year of demonstrations triggered by the collapse of a train station roof in the city of Novi Sad in November, killing 16 people in a disaster widely blamed on shoddy construction resulting from entrenched corruption. Clashes with police ended with dozens of arrests as riot officers used tear gas and batons to attempt to disperse a crowd that also threw bottles and flares. Early on Sunday, President Alexander Vučić remained defiant against protesters' demands for early elections, accusing the student-led movement of causing terror. Well, voters turned out at polling stations in Chile in a primary election to choose President Gabriel Boric's successor on Sunday, who will run for the presidency from the left-wing coalition in the next presidential polls in November. Around 15.4 million voters were called to cast their votes for one of the four candidates, notably Boric's former Minister of Public Security, Carolina Toja, and his former Minister of Labor, Jonet Jara. 8 leftist parties have converged in the Unity for Chile coalition to elect a representative that will run for the November 16th presidential election. The other two candidates are Boric's Broad Front candidate Gonzalo Winter and the Green Social Regionalist Federation's Jay Mullet. And Colombia's lower house has approved a pension reform backed by leftist President Gustavo Petro for the second time, following a constitutional court order to redo the vote due to procedural issues. The court's June ruling did not address the constitutionality of the bill, but mandated that the lower house revotes on the version passed by the Senate, stating that the initial vote lacked sufficient debate. The bill was backed by 97 lawmakers on Saturday, while one voted against it. The bill, intended to take effect in July pending court approval, seeks to boost the compensations fund by requiring low-income earners to contribute in ensuring support for those lacking retirement savings. And Mexican authorities said that 32 people were arrested on Sunday as part of a powerful criminal organization dedicated to fuel theft in the center of the country amid growing operations to curb this crime. The operation took place in 3 central states: the state of Mexico, which surrounds the nation's capital, Hidalgo, and Querétaro, areas that are among the hardest hit by this crime. The official added that some of those detained were even involved in forging documents and maintaining connections with local authorities to facilitate their operations. In addition to the arrest, nearly 50 vehicles, tractor-trailers, storage containers, weapons, ammunition, drugs, and other items were also seized. Well, moving on, a horrifying wave of violence against Bangladesh's Hindu minorities escalating unchecked. From temple demolitions to the brutal rape of a Hindu woman by a BNP leader, the attacks reflect deepening lawlessness. Over 2,400 incidents have been recorded in just 8 months, exposing a climate of impunity and fear.
The demolition of a Hindu temple and the rape of a Hindu woman within days point to a disturbing pattern of lawlessness and a continuous rise in religious extremist violence targeting minorities in Bangladesh. On Thursday, Fazar Ali, a leader of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party or the BNP, broke into the home of a Hindu woman in Ramchandrapur Panchakitta village of Kumilla district and raped her at knife point. The shocking incident has sparked outrage, reflecting both the vulnerability of minorities and the alarming impunity with which political figures operate. Just days earlier, on Monday, a Muslim mob attacked a Hindu temple in the Khilket neighborhood of Dhaka, threatening devotees to vacate the land or face demolition.
My body feels burnt and my heart ripped. We have no place to pray. We are unable to express our pain to anyone. If thousands of mosques can exist, why can't we have one temple?
India's Ministry of External Affairs has expressed deep concern, urging Bangladesh's interim government to ensure the safety of Hindus and other minority communities.
We understand that extremists were clamoring for demolishing the Durga temple in Khilket, Dhaka. It is the responsibility of the interim government of Bangladesh to protect Hindus, their properties and religious institutions.
Violence against Hindus in Bangladesh is not new, but its frequency and brutality are growing. Between August 2024 and March 2025, over 2,400 incidents targeting minorities were recorded, including assaults, temple desecrations, lootings, and arson attacks. On May 22, a Muslim mob torched more than 20 Hindu homes in Dahad Mashihati village in Jessore district. Shops were vandalized, homes were set ablaze, and families were left devastated. On March 9, Hindu trader Dilip Das was hacked to death during a robbery in Nayar Hat Bazaar while returning home with his wife. Then, on March 18, BNP extremists vandalized a Hindu family's home in Sylhet city and issued death threats, adding to the long list of violent threats faced by minorities in Bangladesh. The ongoing series of brutal attacks on Hindu community and minorities reflect a grave human rights crisis that shows no sign of slowing down in Bangladesh. Rabindra Chauhan, for DD India.
Well, the verdict in mushroom murder trial could come as early as today. The triple murder trial of Australian Erin Patterson revolves around an innocuous-looking mushroom with a slightly sweet smell and a sinister name. Patterson is accused of killing her husband's parents and aunt in 2023 by lacing their beef Wellington lunch with highly toxic death cap mushrooms. Though the 50-year-old has tenuously denied the charges, saying the hearty meal was contaminated by accident. And jurors on Monday will begin deliberating whether Sean Diddy Combs paralyzed his celebrity, wealth and business empire into a decades-long criminal ring that saw him force women into drug-fueled sexual performances with the Scots. Combs faces upwards of life in prison if convicted on 5 federal charges. On Friday, his lawyer vowed to skewer the credibility of his accusers, naming 2 women he dated for years, saying they were out for money while rejecting any notion he led a criminal ring. But in their final argument, prosecutors tore into the defense, saying Combs' team had contorted the facts endlessly. Well, a strange incident was reported from the northwestern U.S. state of Idaho, where 2 people have been fatally shot in a mountain community while they were responding to a brush fire. Police said at least 1 suspect was firing at law enforcement with a high-powered rifle near the city of Coeur d'Alene. He added that the number of people wounded in the attack remains unknown. FBI assets are at the incident site to provide tactical and operational support. The brush fire is still burning in the city of around 56,000 people, which is near the border with Washington state. Well, also, a severe heat wave is gripping southern Europe, with the temperatures expected to intensify in the coming days. Fires are broken out in France and Turkey, while countries like Spain, Portugal and Italy are on high alert. In Turkey, forest fires broke out on Sunday afternoon in the western Izmir province, fed by strong winds. Firefighters backed by specially adapted planes were battling the blaze, but 5 neighborhoods in the Seferihisar district had to be evacuated. Well, whereas in France, wildfires broke out in the Corbières area of Aude in the southwest, where temperatures topped 40 degrees Celsius, forcing the evacuation of a campsite in Abbey as a precaution. French Weather Service has also issued an orange heat wave alert for 84 out of the country's 101 regional departments for Monday. While other European countries, including Spain and Italy, are experiencing extreme temperatures, as Spain's Seville gears up to host a UN 4th International Conference on Financing for Development on Monday, the temperatures have soared to 48 degrees Celsius. Spain's national weather agency, EAM, has also issued an orange alert, indicating high risk. Whereas in Italy, 21 cities across the length of the country were on high alert for extreme heat, including Milan, Naples, Venice, Florence, Rome and Catania. Hospital emergency departments across Italy have reported a 10% increase in heat stroke cases. Several areas in the southern half of Portugal, including Lisbon, are also under a red warning until Monday. London is also experiencing a heat wave, with temperatures rising above 30 degrees Celsius, about 10 degrees above average. In the city's streets, people were armed with water bottles and fanned themselves to keep cool. Data from the UK Met Office shows that the overall trend for the first half of the year has been drier than usual. Meanwhile, Morocco is also experiencing a severe heat wave, with temperatures breaking monthly records in many regions. The National Meteorological Office reported temperatures exceeding seasonal norms by up to 20 degrees Celsius in some areas. Inland City, Marrakesh, Fez, Meknes and Beni Mellal experienced heat 8 to 15 degrees Celsius above the norm. The heat wave is expected to continue in the interiors of Morocco due to the Saharan thermal depression. While heavy rains in Venezuela's Andean region have caused widespread destruction, with 103 houses destroyed, over 8,450 families isolated and 25 bridges collapsed, livelihoods have been heavily impacted due to crop losses. The affected areas include several villages in the Merida mountain range. No fatalities have been reported, according to the local government officials. An activist in southern Spain's Seville marched on Sunday calling for debt cancellation, climate justice and taxing the super-rich on the eve of a UN summit on financing development. The 4-day meeting, held once every decade, promises to take on poverty, disease and climate change by mapping out the global framework for developments, with the United States' decision to pull out in wealthy countries' shrinking appetite for foreign aid has dampened hopes that the summit will bring about significant change. However, hours earlier, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said that the conference is happening while conflict is raging across the globe is a reason to be hopeful. The summit kicks off from today. And in an effort to protect the public from passive smoke and create the country's first non-smoking generation, France banned smoking in parks and on beaches. The ban, published in the official government gazette, also applies to bus shelters and areas near libraries, swimming pools and schools. It was introduced 1 week before the start of school holidays, aimed to shield children from smoke on beaches. According to the new rules, people should also not smoke within a 10-meter radius of schools, swimming pools, libraries and other places that hurt the minors. The Health Ministry said it would announce the minimum distance for smoking in these areas in the coming days. Well, in a major discovery, African researchers have recovered ancient enamel protein from fossilized teeth in South Africa. This is the first time such proteins older than DNA have been found from a human relative that lived 2 million years ago. Researchers discovered fossilized remains at South Africa's Cradle of Humankind, a UNESCO World Heritage Site close to Johannesburg. They used an advanced method called paleoproteomics, which studies ancient proteins that survive longer than DNA, particularly useful in warmer regions like Africa. With this discovery, the project also marks a shift in leadership in a field that Western researchers have long dominated. And Nepal celebrates the National Paddy Day on 15th Asad of Vikram Samvat annually. This year's theme is intensification in rice crops, food security and self-reliance. To mark the occasion, a rice planting ceremony was organized across Nepal with people planting paddy saplings in fields as it rained. To commemorate the day, President Ramchandra Paudel and First Lady Sabita Paudel also participated in the paddy transplantation ceremony at the President's house, Sheetal Nivas. President Paudel said farmers should be honored as food producers and stressed on the need to modernize Nepal's agriculture. The day is celebrated to make Nepal self-sufficient in food and strengthen food security by intensifying rice cultivation. And still to come on DD India News Now. EAM Jaishankar to visit US Quad Foreign Ministers meeting from June 30th to July 2nd. Sri Amarnath Yatra 2025 to begin on July 3rd amid heightened security and no-fly zone restrictions. And IMD issues alerts for heavy rainfall and strong winds at various places all over the country.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DT India News Now. Lepakshi Quran. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. U.S. Senate inching towards vote on Donald Trump's pending bill. Many Republicans remain divided over the proposal, which would deliver key parts of Trump's domestic agenda while making massive cuts to social welfare programs. In Serbia, thousands of protesters continue to block major roads in Belgrade and other cities, demanding end to President Aleksandar Vucic's 12-year rule and snap elections. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra begins today after a gap of 5 years. Lord Shiva devotees will pass through Lipu Lake in Uttarakhand and Nathula Pass in Sikkim. Wildfire risks as climate change fuels extreme heat wave in southern Europe. Italy, Greece, Spain and Portugal remain most affected. Most of France placed under heat wave alert. And in sports, third and oldest Grand Slam of the year, Wimbledon begins on Monday. Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic headline men's lineup. Sabalenka, Rybakina and Gauff head women's lineup. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is set to visit the United States from June 30th to July 2nd at the invitation of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. During the visit, EAM Jaishankar will participate in the next edition of the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting scheduled for 1st of July in Washington, D.C. The Quad Foreign Ministers will continue discussion from the last meeting held in Washington, D.C. on the 21st of January 2025. They will exchange views on regional and global developments, particularly those concerning the Indo-Pacific, and review the progress made on various Quad initiatives in the run-up to the Quad Leaders Summit, which will be hosted by India. The ministers are also expected to deliberate on new proposals aimed at advancing the shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. The minister will also travel to New York on June 30th to inaugurate an exhibition titled The Human Cost of Terrorism at the United Nations headquarters. The exhibition will highlight the devastating toll of heinous terrorist acts around the world. and the steps taken by the international community to combat terrorism. Well, recently the Navy Chief awarded 13 gallantry medals to Navy personnel for bravery during Operation Sankalp in the Red Sea and Arabian Sea last year. Our correspondent Nandita Dagar spoke to some of these brave men from our Navy.
This was a massive operation both in terms of scale and in terms of area. This operation was carried out over an area of 51 lakh square kilometers, and that included the Gulf of Aden, the Arabian Sea, parts of the South and West Indian Ocean. And it was unprecedented, this kind of operations. 21 ships deployed, about 5,000 personnel. Coordination, like you said, there was coordination required between information coming from various agencies like the IFC, IOR, international agencies, merchant shipping companies. There were concurrent operations. So somewhere there was anti-piracy going on, somewhere there was anti-narcotics, somewhere the people are fighting fires, somewhere there was search and rescue. Also, we did a Marcos airdrop at 2,500 kilometers from the Indian shores, which was perhaps for the first time, and that required extensive coordination.
So this was an operation, a hostage rescue situation, wherein there was a vessel called fishing vessel Umari. It was hijacked. For 3 days it was under the control of pirates. There were 20 people on board. One was killed to create fear among the crew, and there were 7 pirates, all Somali. The hijacking took place somewhere near the equator. So we were 8 of us, and we did not have a backup boat. So we closed in, and thereafter we started shouting at the crew to stop the vessel. They were not stopping. They were trying to fake themselves as fishermen themselves and taking their boat. But we could see people on the lower decks raising their hands and showing red color flags and
SOS.
all that. They were, yes. So then we closed in, and we started shouting at them to halt the vessel. It took about almost 10-15 minutes, and they were under the influence of drugs. We were able to climb onto the boat. We overpowered all the pirates, and we got all the hostages upstairs, and then we started searching the boat. We found arms and ammunition with them.
6th of March 2024, I was the detachment commander of the helicopter on board INS Kolkata, and we were deployed in the Red Sea, man. So during that mission, we just got some information that some attack has happened, a rough position, but there were no details. The whole vessel was engulfed in the flames, and we still flew in close proximity of this two confidants to find out if there is someone who needs our help. But it was very evident that no one would have survived on board. So in my helicopter, I evacuated 8 personnel, ma'am. And then subsequently, the information was given to our vessel Kolkata. They closed their life raft, and we successfully evacuated all 21 of them. And we had taken them to the nearest country of the Djibouti.
Well, in Assam, an emergency landing facility is nearly complete on the under-construction 4-lane Moran-Dibrugarh road. A 4.2-kilometre facility has been built with modern technology to allow all types of aircraft, including fighter jets like Rafale and Sukhoi, to land during emergencies. Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma reviewed the progress on Sunday in Moran. He said that this is the first such ELF in the northeast and is expected to be inaugurated in September. And Mizoram's capital, Aizawl, is set to receive its first ever rail connectivity with the completion of a 51.38 kilometers Bairabi-Sairang broad gauge rail lane. The Bairabi-Sairang railway line in Mizoram is fully complete and awaits inauguration, connecting Aizawl to India's rail network via Silchar. The project includes 48 tunnels and multiple bridges, marking a major boost to northeast connectivity and development. Despite facing challenging geographical conditions, the Raleigh line has successfully connected Aizawl to the broader railway network. This project is a testament to the government's commitment to improving infrastructure in the northeastern states. And the revered Kailash Mansarovar Yatra begins today, marking the pilgrimage's return after a 5-year pause. Lord Shiva's devotees will pass through Lipu Lake in Uttarakhand and Nathula Pass in Sikkim. Compared to the conventional Lipu Lake Pass approach, the Nathula route, which was opened in 2015 in a shorter and easier path, Pilgrims begin their journey across the Indo-China border in Gangtok, the capital of Sikkim. From there, they proceed to the sacred lake Mansarovar and perform the revered circumambulation of Mount Kailash, a spiritual site sacred to Hindus, Buddhists as well as Jains. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday during his 123rd episode of Mann Ki Baat extended his best wishes to all devotees undertaking the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. Well, preparations are also underway for another journey of faith. Sri Amarnath Yatra 2025 will commence on the 3rd of July. The cave is located at over 12,700 feet above sea level and contains a naturally formed ice shivling said to represent Lord Shiva. DGP Jammu and Kashmir continue to review security situations, asking all security agencies to take proactive and a preventive measure to counter any potential threats. He emphasized strict adherence to standard operating procedures or SOPs and robust coordination among forces to ensure a peaceful and safe pilgrimage. All routes of the Yatra include Pahalgam and Baltal. Access have been declared as a no-flying zone from July 1st to August 10th, 2025. Consequently, helicopter services for pilgrims travel shall not be available in the Yatra area. All pilgrims planning to visit the holy shrine are advised to reach on foot or avail the services of ponies and palkis throughout the Yatra. It will conclude on the 9th of August. Well, with the monsoons finally making its much-awaited foray into Delhi, as announced by the Indian Meteorological Department, June is set to end wetter and cooler than usual, keeping in line with the trend the previous month, as Delhi recorded its wettest May historically. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand and West Bengal are set to receive very heavy rain. Furthermore, several districts of Gujarat have been issued an orange alert along the western coast. Heavy rainfall is also expected in Punjab, Haryana and Chandigarh until July. An orange warning of heavy to very heavy rains is isolated areas of Himachal Pradesh has been issued by the Met Department on 5th of July. The IMD issued a red alert in Uttarakhand citing extreme rainfall, lightning and thunderstorms in the hilly state. And for more, we have Lakshya Arya joining us from Jaipur and Antara Sinha from Delhi on the weather. Well, Lakshya, given the orange alert issued for the several districts along the western coast, including parts of Gujarat, is Rajasthan also expected to see any spillover effects in the terms of heavy rainfall or storms in the coming days? What's the situation there?
Absolutely, very good morning. So, yellow alert has been issued in several districts of Rajasthan by the IMD regarding the heavy rainfall. So, if I told about the last month, especially about the June, from the June 1st to June 29th, the state received 156% more rainfall than the usual. So the state is, the farmers are happy. The major dams are filled right in the Rajasthan. So moreover, the most of the districts in Rajasthan are receiving good rainfall. In the coming days, in the 4-5 coming days, the yellow alert has been issued, and state and major districts, including the Jaipur, Kota, Bikaner, Udaipur, and some of the southern districts of Rajasthan are expected to receive a good rainfall in coming 4 to 5 days. Importantly, from last 2 days, the state was experiencing humid and hot temperature. Yet the our highest temperature has been slowed down and came down from 5 to 7 degrees Celsius in the major district of Rajasthan. But from past 2 days, the state was experiencing some humid and hot temperature. But from today, the temperature seems to be cool. The weather seems to be cool. So probably, and as per the predictions by the IMD from today, the continuation and the things of the rain and the monsoon will presume from today as well, and it will last till 4 to 5 days, as the yellow alert will last till 4 to 5 days.
All right.
So state is probably to receive a good rainfall in coming 4 to 5 days.
All right. Antra, with Delhi also experiencing its wettest May on record and a cool and a much awaited wetter end to June now. Tell us more about the weather in Delhi.
Well, yeah, Delhi witnessed the wettest May since 1901, if I tell you, from history. And it is set to experience the highest average in monsoon as well. And continuing from Sunday, we are going to witness more rain till July as well, till the mid of July, as per the IMD predictions. And we see a yellow alert today for Delhi as well. And on Sunday also we saw a lot of rain in several parts of Delhi. And today it is also the prediction that rain will happen today as well. Although we have seen respite from humid and hot weather that was in Delhi prevailing for a very long time. And now we see rain finally. So the final announcement for the monsoon is here by the IMD for Delhi.
All right. Thank you so much, Lakshya and Antra, for all those details. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Dollar nears 4-year low against euro as Fed rate cut bets rise amid Trump pressure on Powell. India's women boxers set for season debut at World Boxing Cup in Kazakhstan. And Colombian festival honors donkeys as farmers' closest ally.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kunaran. On to some business news now. Days after US President Donald Trump called off trade talks, Canada has rescinded its digital services tax targeting US technology firms in a bid to advance trade negotiations with the US. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and Trump will resume trade negotiations in order to agree on a deal by July 21st. On Friday, Trump abruptly cut off trade talks with Canada over its tax targeting US technology firms, saying that it was a blatant attack and that he would set a new tariff rate on Canadian goods within the next week. The tax was 3% of the digital services revenue a firm takes in from Canadian users, about $20 million in a calendar year, and payments will be retroactive to 2022. Well, Canada is the second largest U.S. trading partner after Mexico and the largest buyer of U.S. exports. It bought $349.4 billion of U.S. goods last year and exported $412.7 billion to the U.S., according to U.S. Census Bureau data. And moving on, the dollar wallowed near its lowest in nearly 4 years against the euro on Monday as market optimism over U.S. trade deals bolstered bets for earlier Federal Reserve interest rate cuts. An additional weight on the dollar came from Trump's continued assault on Powell, saying on Friday that he would love if the Fed chief resigned before his term ends in May. Trump also said he wants to cut the benchmark rate to 1% from the current 4.25% to 4.5% and reiterated that he plans to replace Powell with a more dovish chairperson. The dollar index, which measures the U.S. currency against 6 major counterparts, including the euro, sterling and franc, edged up 0.1% to 97.276, but was still not far from the more than 3-year low of 96.933 late last week. Well, you're watching TT India News. Our time now for some sports news. Third and oldest Grand Slam of the year, Wimbledon, begins on Monday. The men's single French Open finalists Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner as the clear front runners, while world number one Aryna Sabalenka and French Open winner Coco Gauff will headline the women's lineup. Seven-time champion Novak Djokovic, who has not won any Grand Slam since 2023, will also count his chance. Here's the report.
The 138th edition of the prestigious grass court Grand Slam Wimbledon Championship begins Monday. Spain's Carlos Alcaraz will bid for a third men's title in a row after beating Novak Djokovic in the past two finals. While Alcaraz's rival and world number one Yannick Sinner will hope to bounce back after losing to the Spaniard in one of the all-time great French Open finals in June.
I'm coming here thinking that I really want to win the title. I really want to lift the trophy. Not thinking about how much players have done it, winning three or three Wimbledons in a row. I'm just thinking about, I just want to be ready. I just want to prepare myself in the best way possible.
I feel good. I feel, especially mentally, I feel in a very good spot. Halle was a little bit different because before I haven't had so much time to cut that off. I feel like that I'm playing great tennis on grass, and hopefully I can show this also in the match courts.
Serbia's all-time great Novak Djokovic continues to seek a record 25th major title. Djokovic has reached the final of the last 6 Wimbledons, losing the last 2 to Spaniard Alcaraz. He has not added to his Grand Slam collection since the 2023 US Open.
I would probably agree that Wimbledon could be the best chance because of the results I had, because of how I feel, how I play in Wimbledon, just getting that extra push mentally and motivation to perform the best tennis at the highest level.
Top-ranked Aryna Sabalenka and French Open champion Coco Gauff are among the favourites for the women's title. Sabalenka, with 3 Grand Slams to her name, has yet to make the final of a Wimbledon tournament, falling in the semi-finals in 2021 and 2023. Former Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina and American world number 2 Coco Gauff have the second and third best odds in the run-up to the grass court tournament. Gauff comes in with high confidence after securing her major French Open title, though the 21-year-old American has thus far struggled at Wimbledon, exiting in the 4th round on the 3 separate occasions. 5-time Grand Slam winner Poland's Iga Swiatek has never made it past the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, but comes in with the 4th best odds to clinch the title. The total prize money for the upcoming edition is $72.59 million, an increase of 7% from 2024. The winners of the men's and women's singles titles will each receive $4.08 million, an increase of more than 11% since 2024. Abhishek Prasad reports for TD India.
And Barbora Krejcikova says she's fit for her Wimbledon title defence after the Czech suffered an injury scare just days before the tournament. Well, Krejcikova's participation was doubtful when she pulled out of a warm-up event on Thursday, but after resting for several days, the 29-year-old is confident that the injury will not be an impediment in her bid to retain the trophy. Krejcikova will start a campaign against Alexandra Ayala of the Philippines on Tuesday. The world number 16 has endured a rough ride since defeating Jasmine Paolini in the Wimbledon final last year. And India's women boxers will make their first appearance of the season at the World Boxing Cup in Kazakhstan, which begins on Monday. The 10-member women's squad includes Paris Olympian and Commonwealth Games medalist Jasmine Lamboria, along with Tokyo Olympian and former Asian champion Pooja Rani. Meanwhile, the 10-member men's boxing team remains unchanged from the Brazil meet, where they won 6 medals. The Kazakhstan leg will run till 7th of July in Astana city, where over 400 boxers from 31 countries will compete across 10 weight categories in both men's and women's division. The Brazil leg marked the first of 3 World Boxing Cups scheduled this year. The series will conclude with the final event in India this November. And the Indian women football team thrashed Timor-Leste 4-0 in the second match of the 2025 Asian Cup qualifiers in Chiang Mai city of Thailand. India scored single goal in the first half and 3 in the second half thanks to clinical finish by Manisha Kalyan, Anju Damang and Linda Kom. India is now at the top of the leaderboard with 6 points out of 2 matches. They have 2 more matches against Iraq and Thailand, which will decide the team's fate for the Asian Cup. India had a brilliant start to the campaign, registering the biggest win at the competition against Mongolia with a scoreline of 13-0 last week. And Zimbabwe's opening batsman Brian Bennett has been ruled out of the first test against South Africa after being diagnosed with mild concussion. Bennett, who scored 139 on his previous test appearance against England last month, had scored 19 runs on the second day of the match when he attempted a hook and was struck on the helmet. After lengthy treatment on the field, the 21-year-old resumed batting and faced 3 more deliveries before walking off the field. Zimbabwe Cricket announced that Bennett had been ruled out of the match and would be replaced by Prince Meswar. Well, the small town of Moniquera in central Colombia celebrated its 19th regional donkey contest on Sunday. What started out 23 years ago as a fun way to honor local farmers and the donkeys who've long been their loyal sidekicks has grown into a beloved tradition in the Boasa province. Organizers and participants say the event is all about shining a spotlight on the important role the donkeys still play in the farming life. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, we can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. So as it breaks here on DD India, I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.